Hello, my name is Father Jim Forson, and I'd like to share with you some reflections on the Gospel of the 20th Sunday in Ordinary Time. You know, the Gospel for today is one of the more confounding stories about Jesus, if not flat out disturbing, because we get an image of Jesus that has provoked a lot of controversy about whether Jesus is harsh or wrong in the way he is treating a woman. And so I thought today what we might do is read the scripture together and see where that leads us. So, this is a reading from the Gospel according to Matthew. At that time, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And it says Jesus withdrew because prior to this in Matthew's Gospel, Jesus had been having a running battle with the Pharisees over everything, over working on the Sabbath, over questions of cleanliness before eating, over where he gets his power from. Was it God, or perhaps it was from Satan? And he was finding that the places that he was working miracles refused to believe in him and accept him as the Messiah. Even his hometown of Nazareth drove him out. And so he was having nothing but conflict and lack of faith. And it was, overwhelming? So we see him withdrawing into this pagan territory of Tyre and Sidon, so that his enemies won't keep up with him and won't bother pursuing him there, and he can have a little rest. Into the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, now in Scripture, the word behold is used over 1,200 times, and it's a literary device used by an author, in this case Matthew, to tell his audience, pay attention, something important is going to happen. Revelation is going to happen. And behold, a Canaanite woman, a pagan, of that district came and called out, "Have pity on me, Lord, Son of David." She calls him Lord. She is recognizing who he is and uses that messianic title, Son of David, clearly identifying him as being the Messiah. And this is a remarkable faith on her part, because in Israel, no one was responding to him that way. You had the disciples seeing him walking on the water, and they think it's a ghost. And he works all these various miracles and multiplies the loaves and the fishes, and they don't get him. So the fact that all the Jews who should understand all these signs, that they don't, and here is this pagan woman who does. "Have pity on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is tormented by a demon." But Jesus did not say a word in answer to her. What's going on here, Jesus? Are you just kind of ignoring her? It kind of looks that way. Jesus' disciples came and asked him, "Send her away. She keeps calling out after us." And another translation of calling out is shouting out or screaming. And haven't we all been in public and somebody is just shouting and screaming and carrying on? And oh, what a nuisance it is. And it's this way for the disciples. Here is this pagan, this unclean person, and a lowly woman at that, just driving them nuts. Jesus, get rid of her. He said in reply, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Well, okay, but that's what Jesus proclaimed his mission to be, that he as a Jew was coming for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he even told his disciples when he sent them out on their first mission, don't go into the pagan lands. Your work is to be with the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But you'd want to say to Jesus, now hold on, Jesus, didn't you cure the Roman centurion's servant? That was a pagan. Yeah, he did. And Jesus, didn't you also cure those two demoniacs in the Gadarene territory, which is a pagan territory? You cured those two pagans? Yeah, he did. And so, wait a minute, if your mission is only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, why are you curing these pagans? That's a good question. Behold, revelation is coming. But the woman came and did Jesus homage. She knelt down before him. saying, Lord, help me. I mean, is this a pitiful scene where we see this woman so desperate for her daughter, filled with faith, but kneeling before Jesus and saying, Lord, help me. And Jesus' response? He said in reply, it is not right to take the food of children and throw it to the dogs. Wow. Now that's what causes so much controversy about this passage. When Jesus is calling her a dog, which was a common slur that was used by Jewish people to refer to pagans, to Romans, to Canaanites, a Roman dog, a pagan dog. And dogs were seen as diminutive animals, as lesser than. And so we see Jesus, calling her a dog? Is it, huh? And some translations will look at that Greek word for dog and see that it's used as a diminutive. And so it's sometimes translated as puppy dog. Okay, now that sounds a little bit better. Throw the food to the puppy dogs. And that doesn't sound as diminishing, as disrespectful. But still, he's calling her a dog. And that can really be off-putting for us. And that's just why this passage has created so much controversy. But, behold, revelation is coming. She said, please, Lord, even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the tables of their masters. This woman's faith is amazing. Rather than taking umbrage with Jesus or saying something like, how dare you talk to me that way? Or you are the Lord and this is how you treat people? No. She doubles down on her faith that she shows him and says, I'm not asking you to give me the loaf of bread that you would give to the children of Israel. I just want a crumb. Because a crumb alone from a table of a man like you will be all I need. Just a crumb. And Jesus' response is one of astonishment. And he says to her, O woman, great is your faith. And he uses that term of endearment, woman. We heard him use it once before when he, at the wedding feast of Cana, referred to his mother as woman. It sounds a little off-putting in our ears, but for them, at that time, that was a term of endearment. And we see Jesus going from referring to her as a dog to calling her woman. Great is your faith. Let it be done for you as your wish. And the woman's daughter was healed from that hour. And so what do we take from this? This controversial and disturbing passage of Scripture, an image of Jesus? Well, behold, revelation about the disciples. And we see them as, biased, as dismissive, as, get rid of her. And that spirit can live in any one of us. I heard this woman on TV the other day talk about how she wanted her America back. And I couldn't help but wonder, what America is that? Well, I'm guessing it's not the America that she grew up in, but the America that she now lives in has a lot that wasn't there originally, and she wants all that gone. And I get it, because a lot of times as we grow and we see all these changes around us, they can sometimes be really disturbing. And the temptation might be to fall back on our own culture, fall back on our own upbringing, fall back on our own faith, and just, I want all this to be gone. I just want to go back to the way it was. I get it. We can be very much like the disciples. And behold, revelation is coming. Because we can also be very much like that woman. I admire her faith. No matter what is happening, she stays with it. Here's the disciples being dismissive of her. She stays with it. Here's Jesus apparently ignoring her. She stays with it. She kneels down and begs. And she would even allow herself to call herself a dog that settles for a scrap from the table, a crumb. That's how great her faith is. And I think to myself, do I have that kind of faith? Sometimes when I don't get what I pray for, or I think God is distant or not listening, I can take umbrage. I can get mad at God. I can protest. And why aren't you answering my prayers? This woman's not like that. She stays with her prayer no matter what. And I envy and I want that faith, that spirit of that Canaanite woman. And behold, revelation is coming. Because we see in this passage Jesus as a prisoner to no man, to no culture, to no custom, not even to his own faith. Because we see now that in this house of Israel, there's room in there for pagans too. Everybody gets to be saved. Everybody gets a portion of that loaf of bread that was previously just for the house of Israel. Now it's for everyone. And we see Jesus in this magnanimous spirit, so endearingly and tenderly treating this woman as, woman, great is your faith. I would love to hear those words Jesus spoken to me. Jim, great is your faith. There's a lot going on in this passage. A lot of revelation. Let's read it again on our own. And let's reflect on it. And at the beginning as at the end, let's let Matthew call out to us. Behold, revelation is coming.